What's Trump really up to? Since Donald Trump returned to the White House, his actions have left a lot of people scratching their heads, unsure what he's cooking up behind the scenes. Some even go so far as to call him a Russian spy. But what Trump actually wants to do has already been hinted at by Vice President Vance. At the recent Munich conference, Vance made a bold statement: Europe's real threat isn't from the outside, it's from within. Vance spelled out this threat clearly in an earlier interview. He said Britain could very well become the first Islamic country with nuclear weapons. That's a heavy claim, especially since Britain isn't just any nation, it's the birthplace of modern civilization. Yet now, it's at risk of being overtaken by Muslims. With over 4 million Muslims making up 7% of the UK population, their political clout is staggering. London's mayor has been Muslim for years, and more than a dozen other cities like Birmingham, Blackburn, Oxford, and Sheffield also have Muslim mayors. Britain now boasts over 3,000 mosques, and every school offers halal food. If you're not familiar with Islam, you might wonder what this all means. So, here's a quick rundown. Islam isn't just a religion, it's a universalist and totalitarian system. It's universalist because its goal is to bring the whole world under its faith. It's totalitarian because once a society goes Islamic, only Islam is allowed. Sure, a handful of non-believers might stick around, but they're hit with steep taxes and treated like second-class citizens. Beyond religion, Islam is a complete way of life, covering law, politics, economics, society, and even the military. The spiritual side often hides how all-encompassing it really is. This is why so many people mistakenly see Islam as just another faith and embrace Muslims under the banner of cultural diversity. That's a big mix-up, confusing culture with a full-on system. Culture's about personal choice, like picking between Chinese takeout or a burger. Islam, though, it's strict. Muslims have to eat halal, and breaking that rule comes with harsh consequences. Its totalitarian streak shows in how tightly it controls every part of a Muslim's life, thoughts, habits, everything. And that control shapes how Muslims act. Once the Muslim population crosses a certain line, a society tips toward Islamization, and at that point, tolerance for other cultures dries up. History's littered with examples. Take Turkey's Anatolian Peninsula. It was mostly Christian until Muslim conquest flipped it entirely Islamic. Studies peg 16% as the tipping point. Beyond that, Islamization's nearly unstoppable, except in rare cases like Spain. Today, over 50 countries are Islamic, with 2 billion Muslims accounting for 25% of the world's population. Their birth rates outpace everyone else's, and by the end of this century, Muslims could be more than half the planet. This isn't fear-mongering, it's math. Vance's wake-up call at Munich was aimed straight at Europe, where Islamization's getting out of hand. To hammer it home, Britain might become the first Islamic nuclear power. But Europe's been under leftist rule for years, and they're the ones who've let this Muslim immigration crisis spiral. In the US, those leftists are the Democrats. Under their watch, illegal immigrants have poured in, stirring up all kinds of social trouble. Take this one Los Angeles official living large on welfare, bragging about bankrupting America with taxpayer dollars, and acting like it's his birthright. That's the rotten fruit of leftist welfare policies. The U.S. keeps welfare modest, mostly propping up the poorest, like the homeless. Europe's left, though, goes all in: high taxes, big benefits, basically robbing the rich to prop up the poor. It's a mess. It kills the drive to start businesses or build wealth and breeds a lazy, entitled attitude. Muslim immigrants cash in big time. In the UK, 78% of Muslim women and 63% of Muslim men don't work, and their families average 6 to 8 kids. Worse, there's a wave of Muslim immigrants raping white British girls. Stats say over 250,000 cases have happened in the last decade, but the leftist UK government sweeps it under the rug to protect their diversity wins and dodge racial backlash. Anyone who calls this out, like a British guy named Robinson, gets slapped with the far-right label and hounded. Robinson's one of the few gutsy enough to spotlight these rapes, but the leftist governments got him in their crosshairs. It's caught Elon Musk's eye. He's backing Robinson on social media, even sharing a documentary about the rape gangs. Things are bad, and that's why Vance blasted Europe at Munich for ditching the values it shares with America, freedom being the big one. Europe's leftist grip is pulling it away from freedom, but the US is holding up a bit better. Sure, the Democrats have had their turn running things, but America's conservative streak runs deep. Trump, Musk, and Vance are all conservatives. Back in his first term, Trump rolled out the Muslim ban, blocking entry from certain countries to keep America from going Islamic. Other nations started cracking down on extremism too, but when Biden and the Democrats took over, they axed the ban right away. Now Trump's back, elected by conservatives to keep his campaign promises. Trump's a big fan of Reagan, another Republican who shook things up with conservative reforms in the 80s. Reagan had a partner across the pond, Margaret Thatcher. She took the reins of Britain's Conservative Party in 1975, treating Hayek's 星号 The Road to Serfdom 星号 like a freedom playbook and making it require reading. By 1979, as Prime Minister, she inherited a Britain battered by the Labour Party's socialist flops, economic stagnation, runaway inflation, and fading global clout. Labour's your classic leftist crew, hooked on socialism. On the ideological map, socialism's left, liberalism's center, and conservatism's right. Conservatives see liberalism's left wing as already leaning too far left. They're all about guarding freedom and classical liberalism, putting liberty above democracy or equality. The big split between liberalism's wings is this: substantive equality, material fairness versus formal equality, same rules for all. Conservatives stick to formal equality, everyone's equal under the law. Leftists chase material equality, and after World War II, Europe's left doubled down with welfare states, high taxes, big handouts, soaking the rich to level the playing field. Conservatives hate this rob the rich shortcut. People are born equal, but different talent varies, so material equality's a pipe dream. Human nature's messy, life's unfair, and greed's bottomless. Politics isn't about perfection, it's about stopping the worst evils. Forcing equality with government muscle bloats bureaucracy, wastes taxpayer cash, kills ambition, and breeds lazy freeloaders who don't even say things, they just demand more. That tanks society's morals. Conservatives say wealth redistribution should come from charity, not the state. Eisenhower, a Republican ex-president, once jabbed at leftist welfare, want total security. Go to prison, free food, housing, healthcare, everything but freedom. It's no joke, big government shrinks personal liberty. After World War II, Britain's Labour Party rammed through welfare policies, turning the UK into a nanny state. People stopped working because handouts were plush, unions got greedy, and entrepreneurs quit under tax pressure. The government drowned in debt, bankrolling slackers, especially a growing pile of Muslim immigrants. From the 70s, Labour hauled in Muslims to plug labor gaps caused by their own welfare mess. Under cultural pluralism, they didn't push assimilation, letting mosques sprout everywhere, a choice that's biting back hard. Thatcher stepped in with killer conservative reforms, slashing taxes for businesses and taxpayers, trimming welfare, gutting government bloat, and cutting spending. Her core idea: rein in the state, free up the people, and let competition do the heavy lifting. Argentina's President Milei is doing the same now, channeling Hayek and conservatism. Conservatism isn't just being cautious, it's about preserving freedom and classical liberalism. Trump's got a similar domestic playbook. He's tapped Musk to axe government agencies and costs, plans tax cuts to juice the economy, and wants to ditch democratic political correctness like Black Lives Matter or gender debates. Look at Biden's White House spokesperson versus Trump's, the difference is night and day. Leftists made skin color Trump talent and let transgender issues run wild. Musk felt it personally when his son transitioned under their influence. Conservatism, rooted in faith and tradition, won't stand for it. Right out of the gate, Trump signed an order, 2 genders, period, pure common sense. But his foreign moves, they seem to defy that same common sense. Post-World War II, America ran the world order, especially after the Soviet Union crumbled, becoming the lone superpower and self-styled global cop, waving the universal values flag. The Gulf War is a classic. Iraq invaded Kuwait, and the US rallied a UN force to smack them down and free Kuwait. Being the world's top dog and police is second nature to most, but since the Cold War ended, things have shifted big time. China's rising quietly, Islamic fundamentalism's exploding, and we're heading to a multipolar setup, what Huntington called a clash of civilizations. The West's biggest threat isn't out there, it's inside. Rewind to modern history. Britain and the US built today's civilization on classical liberalism, which conservatism defends. The American creed: freedom, democracy, individualism, rule of law, constitutionalism, markets, property rights. That's what conservatives fight for. But the left keeps chipping away with stuff like DI, diversity, equity, inclusion, fancy, politically correct buzzwords dripping with their rationalist vibe. Rationalism's all about trusting human reason too much, thinking we can blueprint a perfect society, from Plato's Xinhao Republic, Xinhao, to modern utopias. The left says politics should chase that perfection. Conservatives call it arrogant. Politics is for dodging disasters, not dreaming up heavens. Those conservative principles cage human flaws and political overreach like locking power down. History proves it. Chasing earthly paradise often births hell. Rationalism feeds radicalism. The left's so sure they've got truth and justice, they sanctify their goals and paint dissenters as evil, guilt-free when they get extreme. Conservatism pushes back, scoffing at the left's high-flown slogans. DEI's radical edge has America juggling 97 genders. Its cultural pluralism's the real killer, undermining modern civilization's roots. Case in point, the left won't assimilate Muslim immigrants, so now they're pushing Sharia law in the West. Leftist dominance is why the West's fading. Today, as Vance said, the West's threat is internal. Europe's deep in Islamization and might not pull out. American conservatives figure there's no point playing world police anymore. Western civilization isn't spreading, it's being eaten by the left and overrun by Muslims. Plus, keeping that cop gig has saddled the US with $36 trillion in debt it's crushing. With China climbing and Islamic extremism biting back, America can't rule or hide. Trump, the conservative, probably wants to lock down the American creed, curb the left, stop Islamization, and pull back globally, adapting to multipolarity with realism. Biden's crew, meanwhile, clings to ideological fights, boxing in China while ignoring how Islamic fundamentalism's gutting the West, hence the Democrats' election trouncing. Huntington, a conservative thinker, saw this coming post-Cold War. He said America should shield Western civilization, not peddle ideology or tweak other cultures. No need for the police hat. He pegged Russia as orthodox civilization's hub and a multipolar must. Trump's team, steeped in Huntington, agrees. The new Secretary of State says multipolarity's here, with the US and China as big dogs. In Trump's multipolar world, powers ditch ideology for hard interests, running their own shows, clashing, and teaming up for global balance. Each civilization, Western, Islamic, Orthodox, Chinese, gets its turf, no one forcing sameness or wiping others out, just living parallel. To pull this off, Trump pledged to end the Russia-Ukraine war fast. It's a superpower showdown now, neither side's solo. 3 years in, over 1 million are gone, wealth's torched, and dragging on just bleeds both dry, especially Ukraine, losing a whole generation. It's not World War II. Imagine if Germany and the Soviets teamed up. Could the West have beaten them, plus Italy and Japan? Trump's tossing out wild takes to stop it, pissing off Ukraine's global cheerleaders. It might spark something, but for his big plan, he'll risk the world's wrath. This isn't just right versus wrong, it's strong versus weak, and winners often write the rules. Small nations get chewed up in a multipolar game, big ones dance circles. I'm no Trump fanboy, but some conservative ideas hold water. This video breaks down why he's doing this and guesses what's next. So, final question, will the world be better?